The train crept slowly into Mill Creek Station, a little dot on the map tucked deep into the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia. It barely stopped for more than a minute or two. Enough time for me and an older man with a sun-weathered face to hop off. I was the only one getting off by choice. And really, if my mom didn't live out here, I'd never set foot in this place again. I've begged her 100 times to move to the city with me, somewhere with hospitals, groceries, people, but she's stubborn. I've lived here all my life, she always says. I'm not leaving just because the world did. Mill Creek barely qualifies as a town anymore. No gas station, no store, no dictator. There used to be a little diner, a church, and a bait shop, all long gone. When I was a kid, we at least had a school bus that came by twice a day. Now it's just retirees and ghost houses. Folks used to say the town was cursed. Not out loud, but you could feel it in the way they spoke. People died in their sleep, not in accidents, not in hospitals, just quietly, alone, in their homes. Like the place itself was sucking the life out of them. But my mom, she said it was just age. Folks die, honey. Always have. The heat hit me hard as I hauled my bags down the gravel path toward her house. The dirt crunched under my boots. Mosquitoes swarmed in thick clouds. I was sweating through my shirt before I even made it to the front gate. Her house sat at the end of a winding trail, hugged by thick trees and overgrown brush. Paint peeled from the siding. The roof sagged a little more than I remembered. I pushed the gate open with my foot, both hands full of bags. God damn it, I muttered, when it swung back and cracked against the fence. Welcome home, son, came a voice from the left. I jumped. Mom was standing near the old hand pump well, hidden by overgrown rhododendrons. She gave me that tired little smile of hers, and despite everything, the heat, the smell of mildew, the isolation, my heart softened. Inside, not much had changed. My old room still had the same twin bed with a sagging mattress. The walls were yellowed with age. A stack of paperbacks sat in the corner, untouched. She made lunch like she was feeding a family of 6. Cornbread, fried chicken, beans, collard greens. The whole table was full. I hadn't eaten since the night before, so I devoured everything. Good thing you're here, she said between bites. Roof's about to cave in, back porch is rotting through, and the fence, well, it might as well be made of paper. I nodded, chewing slowly, already tired. Mom, I said finally, you can't live like this. We can get you a nice little place near me, a garden, a porch swing, maybe even a view. She didn't look up, just wiped her mouth. No, my place is here. I'll die here, just like I lived. We had that same fight a dozen times. It always ended the same, with her staring into her plate and me staring at the walls. The first 2 days were uneventful. I helped her clean the kitchen, replaced a few floorboards on the porch. Mostly, I just read or scrolled on my phone while sweat trickled down my spine. But on the third night, something changed. I had spent the whole day patching the roof, hunched in the sun like a damn gargoyle. My shoulders were toast, my fingers were numb. I ate just enough to feel human, then collapsed face first into bed. The fan hummed above me, the old clock ticked in the hallway. And then, a new sound. Steps. I froze. Not the creak of old boards, not the groan of wood. Actual steps. One, then another, slow, deliberate. Mom? I called out. Silence. I sat up, heart thudding. Maybe she was just checking something. Maybe the house was just settling. But I knew this place. I knew its sounds. This was different. Still, I brushed it off. Told myself it was the wind, the heat, maybe a raccoon. The next day, I forced myself back up on the roof and finished the patchwork. Got down just in time to feel the first drops of a summer storm. By the time I showered and sat down for dinner, thunder was rolling through the hills. I was too tired to talk, too sore to eat much. I passed out early, and again, I woke up in the dark, not to the rain, not to the wind, to something, yes, somebody say it's all a thud. Not in the hallway this time, below the floorboards. I grabbed my flashlight and walked barefoot to the kitchen. The linoleum was cool against my feet. The house groaned. Then I saw it. The trapdoor to the basement was open. I stood at the top of the stairs, frozen. The basement trapdoor yawned open like a mouth, swallowing the weak kitchen light. For a long moment, I just stared. I didn't want to go down. Everything in me said don't. But then I thought of Mom. What if she had gone down there? What if she fell? I switched on the flashlight and took a breath. The beam barely touched the bottom. The stairs were narrow, wooden, slick with dust and cobwebs. I descended slowly, my free hand grazing the rough wall. Halfway down, I noticed the smell. Earthy, yes, but sweet too, like rotting fruit. I tried not to gag. At the bottom, I swept the light around. The basement hadn't changed much. Same shelves sagging with old mason jars. Same rusted tools. But something was off. It was subtle. The dirt floor looked recently disturbed. There were faint footprints in the dust. Not mine, not hers. And then I saw the wall. It was smeared with something dark, thick. Not quite wet, but not dry either. Long streaks, like someone had dragged their hand across it. I swallowed. Mom? I called out. No answer, no movement. Just the slow dripping of moisture somewhere behind me. Mom, if you're down here, this isn't funny. Still nothing. I scanned the room again. The footprints led toward the back of the basement where an old storage cabinet stood. I approached it, heart pounding. Reached out, opened it. Nothing. Just old blankets. Rusted nails. A box labeled Xmas Lights, 1997. Suddenly, from upstairs, a voice. What are you doing down there? I jumped, smacking my head on a beam. My flashlight clattered to the ground. Mom? Well, come on up, I made tea, she called, like nothing was wrong. I scrambled up the stairs, pulse racing. When I got to the kitchen, she was casually setting mugs on the table. You were in bed, I said. I checked, the light was off. She just smiled. I got up, couldn't sleep. Storms making the house creak. I didn't sleep much that night. My dreams were dark, muddled, full of deep places and heavy footsteps. The next morning, the trapdoor was closed. I hadn't done it. Mom swore she hadn't touched it either. I decided to ask around. Maybe a neighbor had seen something. Maybe some raccoon had found its way in. Anything. I walked down the dirt road, past houses that hadn't seen life in years. I knocked on 3 doors. Nothing. One had a broken window covered with a bedsheet. Another had a mailbox full of yellowed newspapers. Finally, at the last house on the lane, someone answered. Old woman, mid-80s. Her name was Margaret. You're Mary's boy, ain't ya? She asked, peering at me over thick glasses. I nodded. Strange things in that house, she muttered. What kind of things? She leaned in close. Noises, smells, people disappearing. I laughed nervously. Disappearing? She didn't blink. They go down to fix a pipe or get a box of peaches, and next thing you know, there's a for sale sign in the yard. No goodbye, just gone. I thanked her and walked back, more disturbed than I cared to admit. That night, I told Mom about it. She rolled her eyes. Margaret always was full of ghost stories. Still, she didn't sleep. I heard the TV on past midnight, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she was watching something else, something I couldn't see. I started noticing little things. Mom staring out the window for minutes on end, humming songs I'd never heard before, her hands trembling when she poured coffee. On the fourth night, it happened again. I woke up. Same time, same silence. The trapdoor was open, but this time something had changed. There were smudges on the kitchen tiles. Black, muddy streaks leading from the door to the sink and back again. The table was slightly off-center. A chair was knocked over. I wanted to scream. Instead, I tiptoed to her room. She was in bed. Or at least she looked like it. The blanket was pulled up high. Her face turned to the wall, but something felt wrong. Mom? No response. I didn't touch her. I didn't pull back the covers. I just walked back to the kitchen and sat there until the sun came up, staring at that hole in the floor. That morning, she acted like nothing happened. Offered me scrambled eggs, asked if I wanted to drive into town. I might get a new hose for the garden, she said cheerfully. Maybe some peaches. I nodded, silent, because I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't stop thinking about that tunnel. All day, it hovered at the back of my mind like a splinter under skin. Every time I looked at the floor, I saw the outline of the trapdoor and remembered the smell, the darkness, the sense that something had moved that night. I stayed up again, sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee I didn't touch, the lights all on. Mom had gone to bed early, humming that same off-key melody that seemed to echo off the walls. Just past midnight, I heard the creak, the trapdoor. I stood up slowly and crossed the room. Sure enough, it was open. Not wide, just enough. Like it was inviting me. I took the flashlight. This time I didn't hesitate. The basement looked the same, but colder. My light caught something new. A hole in the back wall, freshly cut into the earth. A dark, round tunnel, maybe 4 feet wide. I stepped closer. The air that came out of it wasn't like any air I knew. It was thick, almost wet, and it smelled sweet. Too sweet. Like meat left in the sun. I crouched, pointed the light inside. I couldn't see the end. Then a sound just beyond the reach of the beam. A whisper. My name. Jacob. I flinched, hit my head on the low ceiling. Another whisper, closer this time. I backed away, heart racing, and bolted back up the stairs. I slammed the trapdoor and shoved a heavy chair on top of it. I barely slept. The next morning, I asked Mom if she'd heard anything. She just smiled and said, "Old houses make noise." Her hands were trembling as she poured her tea. I stayed outside most of the day. I needed distance, but as night fell again, I found myself staring at the floor. When I woke around 3 a.m., something was different. The house was dead silent. Even the wind had stopped. The trapdoor was open again, and Mom's bed was empty. I called for her, checked to the porch, the yard. Nothing. Back in the kitchen, I stood at the edge of the open trapdoor and listened. There it was. That voice. Jacob. I wanted to run. Instead, I descended. The tunnel was bigger now. I stepped inside, flashlight trembling in my hand. The walls were damp and smooth and scratched. After what felt like minutes, I reached a wide chamber. In the center, someone stood, back to me, humming. "Mom?" She turned, her eyes were gone, just dark pits. Her mouth stretched too wide. She didn't speak, but behind her something stirred. I didn't stay to see what, I ran. Up the tunnel, up the stairs, out of the house. I didn't stop running until the sky turned gray. I left before dawn, didn't grab much. Just my keys, my phone, and the old duffel I always kept by the door. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't even look back at the house. Just drove until the trees thinned out and the sky turned blue again. I made it back to the city by mid-afternoon. Showered, slept for 13 hours straight. For a few days, I tried to act like life was normal, like none of it had happened, but it had. And I couldn't stop thinking about her. Mom. I called, no answer. I sent messages. Nothing. A week passed, then 2. I called the sheriff's office out in Mill Creek, filed a missing person report. They said they'd send someone out, that they'd call me back. They didn't. Eventually, I drove back. The house was quiet. No lights. The porch looked untouched. Her car was still in the driveway. I knocked, waited, let myself in. It smelled stale, damp. Everything was exactly how I left it. Except one thing. The trapdoor was sealed, nailed shut, sloppily. Boards crisscrossed over it. Deep scratches lined the floor around the edges. I didn't open it, couldn't. Instead, I searched the whole house. Found nothing, no sign of her, no sign of anything. It was like she just dissolved into the walls. I stayed the night. Left the next morning. Back in the city, I tried again to get the authorities involved. This time I brought photos, names, contacts. Eventually, they searched the house. And that's when everything got stranger. According to the report, the basement was normal. Just dirt and old shelves. No tunnel, no chamber, nothing. They even tore up the floor around the trapdoor. Said it hadn't been opened in years. But I knew what I saw. I knew. A few days later, I got a call from Margaret, the old neighbor. She said I needed to come see something. When I arrived, she handed me a box. Inside were photographs. Old ones. Yellowed and curled at the edges. They showed people I didn't recognize. Men, women, kids. And in the background of more than one photo, the house. My mother's house. Always the same. Always untouched by time. These folks lived there, Margaret said. All of them, one by one. They disappeared. The county says they moved, but no one ever saw them leave. I flipped through more photos, and then I found one that stopped me cold. It was dated 1963. It showed a young boy, maybe 8 or 9, standing on the porch. Next to him, a woman. Pale, thin, smiling, but not quite. She looked exactly like my mother. Exactly. Only younger. Much younger. I couldn't sleep that night. My dreams were full of red dirt and black eyes and a voice calling my name from underground. Sometimes I wonder if that place changed her. Sometimes I wonder if she was ever really my mother to begin with. The house still sits empty. The grass grows wild around it. Vines climb the porch. No one goes near. A few months ago, the county tried to demolish it. The equipment failed, power died. Workers refused to go inside. One of them went missing for 6 hours. When they found him, he was sitting at the kitchen table staring at the trap door. He doesn't remember how he got there. They gave up, boarded the house, posted a sign, condemned. Do not enter. Sometimes when I can't sleep, I pull up the street view, and I swear, in one of the windows, I see her.